The Shelbyville NAACP has always been a voice for those who refuse to be silenced, challenging unjust court rulings, fighting for equal access to education, and ensuring that those who served our country were treated with honor they earned. Today, the We Won't Go Back movement builds on that legacy. We gather the stories of our elders, from the picket lines of the 60s to the school integration battles right here in Kentucky. This is to remind ourselves and the next generation, progress was not given to us, it was fought for.
During my childhood, the people took him away and kept him for several weeks. And when he came back, he was all beaten. And it's been on my mind from now on up until now. I was like 5 years old back then, and I just remember when they came home, he was in such a bad shape. It was a terrible thing. And then we knew back then that we was in trouble. If any of our dads say anything to any of somebody of color, they were going to get it. And we knew that because some of my friends got it. Dads got it too. And just, it was just so unrest back then that men couldn't even walk the streets. I mean, you better not look at them. Better not. And he told my mom that. The woman said something to him first. But he had to get the punishment for it. And I can just remember it as a 5-year-old, seeing him come home battered.
In memory of those who walked so we could run, we won't go back.
I'm Vivian Overall, and I was born February 16th of 1942 here in Shelbyville. I've never left. I've always lived here. And I've only lived in 3 communities since I've been in Shelbyville. And the first community where I was born, it was segregated. It was an all-Black community. But we lived right on the highway in an area called Johnsonsville. And after I turned 4 years old, we moved to Clay Street, which was an all-Black community once again. And I lived there until I left to go away to school. I went to school on Bradshaw, and Bradshaw is a Black community once again here in Shelbyville. The school that I was supposed to attend, like I said, I was born in 42. That school burned in 45. But they had a substitute building that they used, and it was an old restaurant. They used it for all of the grades, elementary and middle school. And when the students went there, of course, we didn't have indoor facilities. I came from a family of 6 girls. I'm second in line. My parents were always a couple until the day they died. They were always husband and wife. And so not only did I attend school there, but my senior sister did. So we walked from our area on Clay Street down to Bradshaw. And the bathrooms, or the outhouses they were referred to, was unisex. It was outside. And that school, which was the restaurant, was built on a dump. And that was our playground. And while I was out playing one day, one of my fellow students flipped me over her back, and I slid and fell on the glass and cinders. And so they thought I would lose my eye. But anyway, fortunate that I didn't. But leaving that school, we went to Martinsville, to the High Street Elementary. In this school, we did have a lunchroom. It was in the basement. And if it rained, it flooded. and we couldn't use the lunchroom or the lower level classrooms. But when we were on Bradshaw, uh, using a makeshift building to complete our education until this building was erected, if it was a day that we had cold cuts or sandwiches, they were prepared on site. We picked up our trays, went back to our room. We ate and socialized until recess and then started classes again. But on the days I can vividly remember when we had a hot meal, the lady across the street, Miss Mary Lou Chapman, would prepare our meals at her house and bring them over to the school. So we would have hot soups or chili or whatever. It was a good time because we didn't know any better. The people that we were in class with, our teachers, were either our neighbors, musician at school, at church, um, insurance lady. They were all people that we knew. They cared about us. We cared about them. But then once I graduated from High Street Elementary, and it was time for me to go to high school, I lived exactly 1 block from the nearest high school, Shelbyville High School. I couldn't enter the building. They would not allow us. But the thing that I always keep in my mind is that my father, being a hardset carrier and a concrete bricklayer, he helped to build the annex to that school and the swimming pool. But we were denied the privilege of being able to have access to those things.
1958, the first African American students entered Eminence High School. And I graduated in 59 and then entered Eminence High School the following fall. The transition from King Street to Eminence High School was a culture shock for me, because we had customs and all of the things that are associated with the school that we had to give up when we integrated. It's different going to a place where you know you're not wanted. Now, there was not violence and, nasty others, but enough to let you know that they didn't want us there. And occasionally the N word would echo.
7th grade year, they decided that they were going to integrate. So my grandmother's answer, I grew up with my grandparents, was there's no need of having to ride a bus down to Lincoln when I could walk right up the railroad track and go to school. So I started the 7th grade, which is now the central office, but then it was Shelbyville Independent. So we were early elementary, and it was not a pleasant opportunity. We had teachers there that told us to go back to our own school because they didn't want us anyway. But one advantage I had at High Street, it was smaller. All of our teachers were Black, African American. When we got to Shelbyville, they thought that we weren't prepared to be there. But all of us that went tested high in math and English. We knew how to do things in English that some of the students there, they wanted to know how we learned. And I made fun all along because I said I didn't know that books had covers and George Washington had eyes till I got to Shelbyville, because we got the books, and I'm just me, we got the books when the white system decided that their books were out of date. Then we got them, and by the time you got them, they had been written in. The younger ones that you talk to now said their books weren't in that poor of a shape, but they had punched like the eyes out of books and all of that stuff, so we had that.
There were restrictions. For a while, we could not belong to clubs. You couldn't be queen or part of a court. And you couldn't be a part of the annual May Day, and that's where seniors served as officials for eminence. So we couldn't do that. That once we established that we were genuine students and that we had talents and something to offer, then things got better for us. I think the expectation is that we would ruin the school.
One of the things that we never talk about is the fact that I always felt I was caught in the middle, because at the white school, they didn't want you. The people that you had gone to school with from the first grade until you went would say that, went to Shelbyville, that you thought you were better than they were, or you thought you were white, and so you couldn't stay at school with them. But it wasn't that we had a choice, because if it were my choice, I would stay at High Street and I would have gone to Lincoln. I had several teachers there that were really concerned about African American students, Black students. Then I actually had one of my administrators there told me he'd found me a scholarship that I could go to Lincoln University, and I was excited, thinking it was the Black Lincoln University, but it was the Lincoln University in Harrogate, Tennessee. And of course, I would be the only Black student, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to be the first Black anything anywhere after this. If I made it through Shelbyville, it was over. I graduated in '64 from Shelbyville High School, so I am a Shelbyville Red Devil.
Eminence was Jim Crow in its own way. There were not written laws. There were not anything verbally that had told us this is what you can and you can't do. But you come to understand what the rules are. And so we weren't allowed to eat in restaurants. If we could go in and order, stand up and wait. And then they would bring the food out to us. It's the one time my mother nearly had a heart attack, because I worked for a family that I walked to every day in the summer. And I stopped at the local drugstore and decided I was not going to stand at the door and wait. So I sat on the stool and was asked to get up, and I refused. I made my order. She went back. He said, just fix what she wants and let her get out of here. But when she brought it, I took the food out of the bag, put it on the counter, sat there and ate. I sat there. That was my first rebellious act. And when I got home and told my mom, she literally cried, you could be killed. I said, I'll just have to die. I'll just have to die. And since then, there are a lot of things that have emboldened me. And a lot of it I took from my dad, because my dad was a little short man, not much taller than me. By the time he died, he and I were about the same height. And my dad was afraid of nothing. And if my dad could do it, I knew I could do it. Joyce Mason Winburn, Eminence, Kentucky. I don't know how he's gonna do it.
I graduated from Lincoln in 1960. And after that, I did further my education by going to a vocational school in Paducah and graduated from there in 62. Now in 63, I decided to go to Kentucky State University. That was the first time that I ever sat in a classroom with a white person. So anyway, after a long, hard-fought battle, I did graduate from both Lincoln Institute and Berea College, and I hold the distinctive honor of being the only one that has graduated from both schools.
So speaking of locally, once again, because I truly do my history on local, I think that's the first and foremost, so that you know who you are and what kind of community you're in and what kind of community you want to leave. personally, I feel like we are not where we need to be. I think there was a lot more activity, a lot more building, a lot more race awareness back in the 40s and 50s, just doing the history. Because you had the Saffels. The Saffels, everything they did, they were educators, they were business owners, they were funeral directors, they were movers and shakers, everything they did. That and some of their buildings were still standing up until, 10 years ago. So that was very impactful. We have a handful of Black-owned businesses today in this community. We should have a lot more. I think we were better in facing and telling our story, making a community for Blacks to live in. And I don't so much see that today.
We made progress because there are more opportunities for us to grow and to not look down on those that haven't had the opportunity to do the things that you have been able to do. And I think that this new administration is going to bring us back to a closer level, because there was a time when you were families and you did things together.
I'd like to say that we have somewhat, but not where we should be.
Number one, that when I grew up, you had to be at death's door to my grandfather not to vote. The polls opened at 6, and unless you were sick and couldn't get up, you were at that poll by 6 or shortly after, so you would vote. So you have the opportunity to vote. You need to not listen to all the rhetoric, actually read up and find out what things are happening. If they have the ability to learn and they've got that God-given ability, then use your brain. It's not just sports or not just the academic set. So I think that would be it, and to work together and support each other.
Be proud of this community. And if you're not proud of this community, find out why you're not proud of it and try to change that. If you have something to offer, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's have a huge, big old community revival and have all the churches come together for a big gospel sing or something, do it. Make it happen. Just ask people. They will help. If you have problem with law enforcement, go talk to law enforcement and say, why am I afraid of you? Why should I count every step that I make and be afraid when you come around? Come out. If nothing else, meet the people, feel the energy that's out there. Become a part of your community.
I went to a city council meeting. They said, did you want something? And I said, I'm here for the meeting. Are you on the program? No, I just came to listen. It makes them uncomfortable. They need to know their history. Know your history. You cannot move forward without knowing where you've come from. And listen to your parents. Listen to adults that have lived through this, myself and others. Take time to appreciate the fact that you've lived long enough that you haven't had to go through what your parents and forefathers went through. Get an education. Education is key. Not only that, go to church, read the Bible, be educated. Don't listen to what someone tells you. Read it for yourself.
That we're not going to revert, because I think that with the current administration that we have, they're trying to send us back to the division. We've got local people for diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're not wanting that. They're trying to make it seem like we don't get anything on merit. And that really bothers me, because you get and you're able to hold positions on merit. But the current trend now is to take us back to where we're thinking we're being given something. We're not recognized. accepting what we do know, what we can do. I could go on a long time. There's a lot of things that have changed, but still haven't changed. And unless we wake up, they're going to be back to where they were.
We've made an impact on this country, on our nation. We've made an impact because we're one of the groups that we didn't cross over or come over here on our own. We were brought over here. And we have learned to live in this community. We have learned to live in this country, and we have not been accepted the majority of the time, but we have overcome so much. You know, I'm proud of our heritage. I'm proud of who we are because I didn't ask to be Black. Who would ask to be Black if they had to endure all of this?
Hello, my name is Nakkia Bowen, and I am the current branch president for the NAACP Shelbyville area. We need to actively engage in local, state, and national issues, lobbying for policies that promote civil rights and equality. Our presence ensures that the voices of the marginalized are heard, and that laws reflect the values of inclusiveness and justice. From fighting voter suppression to advocating for criminal justice reform, all of us play a crucial role in shaping a fairer society. As the great Muhammad Ali once said, our service to others is the rent that we pay here on earth.